Hello everybody, this is Imagin E. I just got news that the Hart Foundation, the Owen Hart Foundation, who's headed by Dr. Martha Hart, the wife of former wrestler Owen Hart, now deceased to all those who did not know about him. He died in the late 90s. For most of you who don't know really much about him, I would advise you to watch Dark Side of the Ring, the Owen Hart episode. I'll send a link. He was a great wrestler, and he was the brother of Bret Hart. He was put in an angle where he was the Blue Blazer, and he was on the rafters, and something happened. The rope that was attached to him, or cord, broke, and he fell off. If you were to watch the, I guess, docu episode, it would explain everything more in length. But that's just really the gist of it. As a kid, I remember playing this one game called WWF Attitude. And I remember it would always show a picture of him, and it would say, "In the memory of Owen Hart." I always thought it was strange, because at that point, I didn't really know that, I guess, young people could die. I'd look at them and go, oh, you know, you never really hear about young people dying. It makes sense for older people, or, you know, people who had gone to war are the exception. But for someone young as him to die at such an early age, for me, when I was young, it seemed a little odd, a bit confusing. But I didn't really know about what had happened until years later, after I found out that he had died, of how he had died. And I just remember just talking to a friend and him telling me, oh yeah, he had fallen down and he actually fell into the ring. And it was from such a height that he just died on impact. And you guys could imagine that's a great height. Another thing, for all those who don't know much about him, his wife, she never was a big fan of WWE or F at the time. And so she never really wanted to collaborate with WWE, even with the blessing of Bret Hart. She was not fond of WWE doing anything with Bret Hart. Probably the memorial, the episode right after he died for Raw, the memorial episode. Other than that, she was not fond of him. And if you were to see the episode on Dark Side of the Ring, she will go into detail why. And for all these years later, for her to make a partnership with AEW, for me, I mean, I could see why she did it. It's such a surprise. I thought she would never make a partnership with any company. But I guess a couple years ago, Bret Hart appeared there in AEW. And, I mean, it'd be nice to see merchandise and a video game that's about to come out with him. A video game that I later looked into depth from the website Smack Talks, who not a website, the article is by Smack Talks, and they go into how the game would be like for those people who never really played Here Comes the Pain. or No Mercy. According to the article, it is actually similar to those games. WWE Here Comes the Pain, I want to say, came around the early 2000s, 2002, around there, and No Mercy appeared around late 99 or 2000, around there. I just remember Here Comes the Pain for its arcade style, and how the animations were, and how every move could be quite an impact. I mean, I remember after doing some power moves, your controller would just shake. The DualShock system on the PS2 controller, it just rumble. Really intense, I guess. I remember I was a little shocked when I first played that game, and I was thinking to myself, well, luckily it's connected to the game console. It wasn't later until I realized how the games that I played, usually when you were playing, it wouldn't rumble that bad. But I mean, I guess the game developers did that on purpose to add to the great animations. And No Mercy, WWF No Mercy, that was a great game too. I remember playing that as a kid. I remember playing the game, but it had like a bug though. And I remember it didn't matter where I went, most of the copies of No Mercy were difficult to find without the bug. I think I found one without it and was finally able to play it. And yeah, I also played a lot of the WWF WrestleMania 2000. With that game, I didn't have as much problems finding copies that didn't have the bug, but it was great playing older titles from, I think it's Ukes, which is the same company that's going to make the new game that also made No Mercy. And I believe also they were involved in Here Comes the Pain. Another thing to add is I found out that Bron Breaker, or as he's also known, Rex Steiner, nephew of Scott Steiner, is going. He already debuted in WWE a couple of weeks ago, and that's something that I also never thought I would see. Mostly because Scott Steiner, his uncle, would leave all the bridges, what do you say, burned? At that point, he burned all his bridges. I don't know how the saying goes, but it's something a bit like that. It's interesting to see because I also saw another article from the Sportster that mentioned that Vince McMahon is actually willing to collaborate with Scott Steiner. For most of you who don't know, Scott Steiner, with his second run in WWE in the early 2000s, he did not make after leaving, he didn't sound like he was too fond of WWE. He'd always trash talk Triple H or Paul Levesque and Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon. And there's many videos out there of Scott Steiner just burying the company. But I guess Vince is just desperate at this point. He's willing to do things that he was not willing to do in the past. And I don't know, I don't see Scott Steiner doing anything with Vince. I see him more collaborating in AEW, as indie as it is, I could see Scott Steiner going to AEW and maybe being a valet or being a whatever Dean Malenko is, an agent, I guess, and doing stuff, or maybe doing some promos, or an announcer. I could see Scott Steiner doing that. Wrestling, I don't think he can. I think he had a heart attack too, probably a couple months ago, and he's also had prior conditions. At this point, I don't see Scott Steiner wrestling ever again. But hey, you never know. It's Scott Steiner. Alright then, everybody. You have a good day. This is Imagin E saying goodbye and farewell and good night.